Peace, brother. Thank you, first of all. It was very difficult to hear you. Can you come closer?
Sure.
It was very difficult to come close. So it was very difficult to hear you. Nobody up here grabbed the mic and had a ready response. Let me just make sure. But what I'm sensing is that in your question, you have some answers. So I'm going to turn the mic over to you and ask you to share what your ideas are on the question that you...
Here we go. Do I repeat my question or just share? Sure. My great-grandfather, he was born in Barbados, 107 this year, and I grew up living with him and seeing him growing food in his backyard in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. And of course, in Oak Ridge is both a combination of rural and suburban, but it's actually a dying town. And so when I came here to Georgia in 1997, I noticed that there are many parts of suburbia that seem to treat urban gardening and really gardening and farming in general like it was a issue for people out there in the inner city. It had nothing to do with us. And especially in this Instagram era, I really love documenting and showing people what's actually happening on the ground, because you can't address what you don't know. But I have noticed that Snapchat tendency where people focus on, look, we're putting gardens for our church or for our synagogue or for our mosque, and then they don't talk about the hell that people go through who never get on Instagram, who are never really seen, who have the land grabs, and who are saying we need to have political focus here. We know that people are saying Black Lives Matters, but Black land matters if you really value Black life and people's lives in general, indigenous too. So I guess again, I'm just kind of wondering how to process that. The main thing I know is just trying to spread awareness. I know that food deserts, from what I know, also occur in suburban areas because there are many people that are literally on the poverty line hiding out in suburbia. But I know that there's a huge movement to try to get people just to find ways to pool their money in local areas bit by bit. In one community, in a suburban area, I know I've heard that they say we get it in one suburban area where people just start gardening together, and then they find resources to take to their local. If you go to a place of faith or a faith-based organization, get your food there, and then have that food become part of a larger network. I just know it's hard to get the word out for that. Some of the things that you guys were discussing tonight were new to me regarding the, I think you said at one point, the blatant land grabs that happened here locally, and that no one's really reporting. Even for people that are talking about how we should farm, it's almost that Instagram era of we want to get together because it's cool, but we don't know what particular policies to fight against, or where do we go? How long is this battle going to go on? Do we even petition our government to get land, or do we take it by force? So again, I'm just kind of processing through that. I hope that makes sense.
Thanks for that. I'm not sure I have any answers for you, but in riffing off your own, what you shared, I've actually found I'm not huge on social media. Like I'm 32 and I just learned how to snap, but I have found it as a very great leveraging tool to reintroduce people to the land. I'm not sure if y'all have time to do that, but it
part. I think that, at least for me, is because the work is being done, there's the little time to actually be able to, capture like, hey, I'm planting cabbage seeds, or hey, I'm at this meeting, or so. It's really difficult, but I understand the need for it because the youth get excited from seeing the beauty in it. You know what I mean? So I think it can be utilized, but we can find some kind of way. I don't have the answer to that because I struggle with that all the time, as well as because I am a business owner. What we do with farming is also a business, so we want to get the word out there. We also social media can also be used to make people aware of certain social issues, things that are happening. A lot of people get their news from social media, but it's for me at least, it's difficult to kind of straddle the fence of being able to be in the work and doing the work, somehow try to figure out a way to advertise it and not make it really feel like advertisement. You know what I mean? And not make it so where it doesn't feel like self-promotion. Because it can get really sketchy. But I do understand the need for showing the work that we do in a beautiful way, showing the importance of it, capturing it, and the people can see it in little small bites so they can get excited about it. Now, how we go about that, I'm still something that I struggle with constantly. So.
Yeah, I feel the balance. Like some folks ask for pictures of rituals we do on the land, and I'm like, we're doing the rituals, right? Like there's just we're doing it, right? I think for me the balance I try to strike is I do feel like social media can be an entry point for folks, but it's just that, really, right? It's an entry point, but it's not a full representation of what's actually happening. And I've also tried to create more narratives around social media, like just more documentary, right? For me, it's like my version of an archive of what all of us in the community are doing, right? Just so someone will know, other than like our existence, that of the land, and divine forces, right? And just a quick thought around kind of this question of how folks who find themselves in suburban communities connect to land. I was raised in Virginia, but I grew up in the suburb. I'm now back in the city, and will either be back in the city or like out beyond the suburb. I struggled a lot in the suburbs, but what I will say is, I think we were all like throughout our discussion drawing on different strands on how folks can be connected to land justice and not necessarily working on the land every day, right? So that means supporting your farmers, right? Like investing your dollars in the farms. It means getting behind the policies, right? Those are happening on the state level, often locally, but also on the state level, right? So you could be working on both those levels to advocate for the policies. And the other thing that has come up on some of the other panels in Baltimore and DC that Tracy often brings up is the issue of absentee landowners. So there are a lot of folks around my age, right, who are inheriting land and choosing not to necessarily go back to the land itself and working it, but either sell it or neglect it. So I believe that it's incumbent upon us to be responsible stewards, and if that means we aren't able to go back to the land and work it, that we need to be putting it in trust or somehow reinvesting it in our communities.
Thank you. So I had a question for the panel. A lot of municipalities are exploring, and some have done it already, adopt-a-lot programs that are kind of municipal-led. My question is, what have you seen in sort of like best practices or some of the best ways forward with these types of programming? And then where have you seen where there's been some intentional or unintentional racism and perpetuation of land injustice for those types of programs?